Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of the Debate Cameroon Roundtable. My name is Terence Agbo, and I'll be hosting the show for today. Today, we'll be discussing on the ongoing war in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, which is in its third year. With me today to discuss are four very brilliant and outstanding individuals, each of them with very disparate views on the war in Cameroon, but also on the way it is managed. The conflict is affecting each and every one of us directly, indirectly, socially, or psychologically. The United Nations estimates that at least 1,800 to 2,000 people have been killed since the onset of the conflict. More than 530,000 people have been displaced, with over 1.3 to 1.5 million in need of humanitarian assistance in this region. At least 80% of the schools have been shut down. 74 schools have been destroyed, affecting over 600,000 children. This is a staggering number. According to the Center of Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, at least 260 villages have been raided and partially or completely burned down by the government military forces. The separatist fighters have also raided local communities which act against the others, as well as involved in kidnapping and torture of the people. The long-term psychological and emotional effects of the war, like post-traumatic stress disorder, will have to be grappled with, most likely long after the war. Today, we hope to discuss, among other issues, what has been achieved so far since the declaration of war by the head of state of Cameroon. We will have perspective from the government of Cameroon, from people who side with the way the government of Cameroon have handled the issues, those who side with the separatists, as well as those who are in the middle. We will discuss about the short-term and long-term consequences of the war, the back to school and or the no back to school conundrum, the jailing of the separatist leader and how this may or may not affect the resolution of the conflict. And last but not the least, what should both parties do to resolve the current conflict? The objective of this roundtable is to have an amicable, intellectual, educative, and solution-oriented discussion from different perspectives. We don't make policies, but knowledge dispersion is one of our objectives. We are aware of the controversial nature of this subject. As such, we demand that our guests respect each other, as we already know the whole different point of views. That is why they are here in the first place. So you guys have to respect each other. We strongly discourage any form of disrespect and insult from either our guests or from the audience. After all, like one of the architects of the current conflict, Barrister Agbo Bala frequently says, we can disagree without being disagreeable. So please, brace for an exciting and engaging and entertaining discussion. So with me today, I will start introducing each of the guests accordingly. In most cases, they will be telling us about themselves. So the first guest I have here with you is no stranger to you people, Miss Amabo Cecilia. She lives in Dublin, Ireland, and holds a master's degree in human rights and democratization. She also holds a postgraduate diploma in business law. She's a human rights advocate and a spokesperson for one of the separatist factions, the Ambazonian Governing Council. She heads the humanitarian and the human rights division of the AGC. Our next guest, who is coming here for the first time and we are privileged to have, is Mr. Jiggi Tah. He's a lawyer by training and he also owns a business. He's also an author who released a book a few months ago on the birth of Ambazonia. He lives in Delaware, the United States of America, and is an advocate for an independent Southern Cameroon. Our other guest today is Mr. Omer Bayen, who from time to time have hosted this show and has taken part in the debate part of this discussion. He lives in Manchester in the United Kingdom. He's trained in law and currently works as a military consultant with the Queen's Army. So ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. So we are waiting for one of our guests, Mr. Nchem Rudolf, who will be joining us very soon. We hope he can hear us, and because the link for the debate was sent to him, and I have been in contact with him asking him to join. So while we wait for him, we will commence with the discussion. Mind and the audience, this is a roundtable discussion. I know both of all you guys have different opinions and different views, but I call on you to respect each and every one of us. I know you guys agree on so many issues. I hope by the end of the discussion, you will be able to agree on one or two issues. You can always disagree without being disagreeable. So welcome. Yeah, Cici, I'm going to start with you because you are one of my favorites in this program with the way you elucidate your points. So the first question I'll ask, and like even though it's in a form of a question, it's actually we are actually going to discuss. But before I start with you, Nchem is here. So Omer, I'll be taking you off the studio, and I'll bring Nchem to discuss to introduce him before we proceed. So good evening, Mr. Rudolf, and welcome to Debate Cameroon Perspectives. Can you hear us? Rudolf, can you hear us? Hi, Rudolf, can you hear us? So it seems as if Rudolf is having some technical difficulties. Rudolf, there is a chat box on the side of the studio where you are waiting. You can easily communicate. You can communicate with everyone there as well as myself, or you can send me a message on Facebook Messenger. I'll be able to reply the messages. Since you are not, you are unable to get me, I'll probably will be try to sort out the issue, but I will start with Cecilia. So Cecilia, Nchem was actually supposed to be the first person to go. So when he comes, I'll ask him the same question. You were supposed to go the second after him, but unfortunately he can't hear us, so you will take the you'll be at the front. So what is the state of the conflict in the Southwest and Northwest regions today? It's 3 years now.
Indeed, it is 3 years, Dr. Terence. And thank you very much for bringing me once again to the Big Debate platform. And I want to extend my heartfelt greetings to my co-panelists, that is to Omer, which I just finished the business I had with him before, and also to the other debater. I'm not sure if you're hearing me.
I can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Like I said, it's an opportunity to be back again.
Rudolf,
Doctor, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, so he's on. Great. Fantastic. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
So thank you and welcome on board, Mr. Rudolf. And thank you again, Terence, for giving us this opportunity to actually sit and actually discuss what is happening with our people back home. Yes, you're right that it's been 3 years on and we are indeed at war. And what is the state of the Ambazonian War? I will choose to call it the Ambazonian War of Independence. Like you said in the beginning, that we have divergent views and we have different affiliations to this war. So it is indeed not as many expected, but those who actually understand how these things work will know that we expected it was going to go in for this number of years and probably more. But we strongly believe that in no time to come, we are finally going to put an end to all this, because a lot of attention has been drawn. A lot of international attention has been drawn to the war, and The social media, the international news outlets are talking about it. Even the United Nations is talking about it. The African Union is talking about it. Human rights organizations are talking about it. I mean, a lot of people are gradually talking about it, which means it's been exposed and people are knowing about it. And we believe that a solution is going to come sooner than we expected. Before we had these challenges because nobody actually knew what was happening to our people. But we have done a lot of sensitization and internationalization of this war that has plunged our people in the past 3 years, in these 3 years going, and we believe that a solution will be arrived at very soon. I believe this is not a debate where I'm going to, first of all, have to lay down my case and order. This is a discussion, and I believe this is going to be a very fruitful discussion.
Yeah, it's a discussion. It's not a debate.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a discussion. It's not a debate, but because you will be talking with individuals with different perspectives, you guys may have to have some back and forth. So that you have to deal with. So the next, so I'm going to ask Nchem the next question because the same question because I know his position already. But to complete the question, so you've given us the state of the current conflict. What do you think has been achieved so far from your perspective? What is the major achievement? Or has anything been achieved? Let me put it that way.
Is that to me? Or
yes,
to
that's
Rudolf?
to you. Yeah, that's to you. So I'm going to ask Rudolf the same question later, but that's to you. So you've given the state of the conflict, and based on what you have given, one of the things I've gathered basically is that it has led to the enlightening of the problem to the entire world.
Yes. What have we achieved so far? We've achieved a lot, as a matter of fact. As Ambazonians, we've achieved a lot because we can boldly say that Ambazonians call the shot in Ambazonia right now. We control the territory. We decide what to do in our territory. And that is a great achievement. Secondly, there has been a change of mindset. Ambazonians have been freed from some level of mental slavery that they've been living in the past 57 years. And Ambazonians today understand the importance of being as an independent nation. So that is a great achievement. Ambazonians today are free and bold enough to declare themselves Ambazonians. They can tell anybody without any fear or favor that I am an Ambazonian. And they can say so freely without any fear of torture, arrest, or anything, because they know that that is who they are. And that is a great achievement. And also, today, Ambazonians across the world before didn't know about any place called Ambazonia. But today, a lot of people know about Ambazonia. And that is a great achievement. First of all, the greatest of the achievement is the fact that Cameroon has been defeated and that Ambazonia is controlling its territory, and Ambazonians call the shot within Ambazonia. So those are great achievements for the people of Ambazonia.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. So, Rudolf, you were actually supposed to start the show, but because you came in a little bit late and we had that technical difficulty hearing you, the question went to Cecilia. So I know your position on this war. You are you are against the war, and so I'm going to. I was supposed to start with you in the first place. Anyway, I'm going to ask you the same question. So the question is, what is the state of the conflict, and what do you think has been achieved so far by the government of the Republic of Cameroon in the handling of the current war?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you 5-on-5.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. T, for bringing me on your show. And I'm glad to sit with Mrs. Amabo. I've never met her. I just, maybe our paths cross somewhere. I don't know. I'm glad to be on your platform and to, share my own perspective of what is going on in the country, especially in the northwest and southwest of Cameroon. when you look back, there are some things you have to understand, Dr. Terence. First of all, politics is war without bloodshed, and war is politics with bloodshed. I listened to what Ms. Cecilia just said, but let us look back now and let us look back on the Northwest and Southwest and ask ourselves, what is the current situation there? When you come up with any issue like a revolution, the goal of a revolution is always to make the lives of the citizens better. Man has always been that kind of a being who has always strived to be better, you know, and to obtain the things that will make his or her life look better. But when you look at the situation now, let her tell us if our people are better off than they were 3 years ago. So what I see is a disaster. What I see on the ground, Dr. Terence, is a disaster, a complete disaster. The scorecard of what is happening down there now is just death, decay, misery, and poverty. And you will bear with me that if you cannot make things better, do not make them worse. So what Ms. Cecilia Amabo is saying, the only thing I deduce from her is just that the problem has been like internationalized. Are you there, Dr. Steve?
We are right here.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, we can hear you, Rudolf. Go ahead, I can hear you. Sisi, can you speak so that he hears?
Yeah,
Hello,
Mr. Rudolf, can you hear me? I don't know.
Yeah, because I was talking and then it looks like everything just went off. So I was trying to reconnect back to see if you people were still present.
From time to time,
I can hear you, Ms. Cecilia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you 5 on 5.
Because I'm not seeing Terence again, so I got confused. Like it looks, the screen just went somehow dark, and I thought maybe there was a disconnection. So,
well, as a matter of fact, I can see Terence from my end, so I believe you can just continue. He can hear you as well.
Okay, because I can't see him again. I can't see him, so I was really worried about that. So, okay. I can see you now full screen. So what I was saying was that the Northwest and Southwest, as of today, is worse than it was before the war came up. And truly, we have a problem now, Mr. Terence. Nobody has a way out of this. People are outside and they say whatever they want to say. But let us talk to the common man on the ground. They will tell you their lives are worse than it was 3 years ago. So, sincerely, something is not going right and something better must be done. I will come back.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm going to ask you the second question I asked Cecilia. And so far, in October 2017, the head of state of the Republic of Cameroon declared war against
November.
Yeah, okay, November. So, sorry, thanks for the correction. So has that been able to, has the declaration of war solved the problem, or what has been achieved so far by this war, from your perspective?
You said the head of state declared war on who?
On the separatist.
Oh, okay. Mr. Terence, before I explain my perspective on that, let me throw back something to Ms. Cecilia as on a side issue. Ms. Cecilia, if today we assume that Ambazonia was a state, right? Ambazonia had become a state, and it was functioning and running and had its own imperfections and all kinds of little things that were going on. Normal misconceptions or imperfections that go on in a state. And a part of, maybe Dr. Terence and myself, we will get up and say, okay, we auto-declare ourselves presidents of this or this and this group, and we want to disconnect from the state of Ambazonia. We want Manfred to be a state on its own, and we start killing your security forces. Well, how are you going to react on that?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rudolf.
Yeah,
and first of all,
since I will come back to you with that.
You come in, Mr. Amabo.
So, Rudolf, I got your point. I will ask that question later. We all know.
No, I can answer him, and then you go ahead and ask him what your follow-up question. I don't have a problem answering that.
No,
I'm trying to draw an analogy.
Let him finish.
Cecilia.
Yeah, please.
Okay,
So,
like I was saying, first of all, it is not an assumption that Ambazonia was a state.
Cecilia, you
hold on 1 second. Let him finish. I'll call you back. You answer that question. I guarantee you I won't forget. Yeah. Don't worry.
Okay.
There's a reason why I brought up that kind of analogy. So, okay. Mr. Terence, the state is an entity. And when the state feels threatened, it attacks and defends. Nowhere, even where you live, where I live, where Miss Cecilia lives, if you kill defense and security forces, the state is going to clamp on you. This is non-negotiable. This is not something that we can deny it, or we can twist it around. If you kill security forces and defense forces anywhere globally, they're going to come down on you. What happened before the president declared war on the separatists? Gendarme officers were killed in Cameroon, and some of them were killed in Bui. I do not know the circumstances under which they were killed, but I do believe that if you kill security forces or defense forces anywhere on earth, there are going to be consequences. I don't know how the consequences are going to be, but there must be consequences, because that is something that no state is going to tolerate. So, from that perspective, Mr. Biya declared war on those who will be killing security forces and taking the laws into their hands and creating chaos. If you, Mr. Amabo, you were the president, you would have kissed those who are killing your security forces in your own imaginary nirvana that you call Ambazonia. Would you tolerate that? Go and get the phone. Yes. So, are you going to tolerate that? In your imaginary nirvana that you, would you tolerate that kind of thing, that your defense forces? Just a minute.
Cecilia, I will come to you. Yeah, I will come to you. I know you are. I will come to you. So don't worry. We have time.
Nobody's going to tolerate that. Come on. Sit
down. Sorry for that accident there with.
It's fine. It's a dad, so the kids always know.
Yeah, I'm talking to the audience. Bear with us. So we are running this program at home. So in the meantime, I'll bring in Cecilia to respond a bit on some of what Nchem has said. But the next person will be coming on will be Omer. So Cecilia, can you respond, please?
Okay, Dr. Terence, can you hear me?
I can hear you 5 on 5.
But I would like Mr. Rudolf to be here before I can respond to what he asked me.
I think
is he on?
He's on. He's on. I just put him on the lobby.
Okay, because I can see him, neither can I see you. However, if you say he's on, then I believe he's on. So, okay, Mr. Rudolf, first of all,
hold on 1 second. All right, let me see. Can you see me now?
Yes, I can see you.
Okay, great. So Rudolf is back.
Okay, I can see him. So if you can hear me, I think that will be good as well.
I can hear you 5 on 5, ma'am.
Trust me, he can hear you.
Mr. Rudolf, I want you to confirm if you can hear me. Okay, now I can see you, and which means you can hear me. So I'll go back to your question. You said let's assume that Ambazonia was a state. No, it's not an assumption. Ambazonia is indeed a state. So Ambazonia it has international borders with La République du Cameroon, which means Ambazonia is indeed a state. And if you don't know, there is a French-British agreement, that is the Mina-Simon agreement, that was actually signed in 1916 and was confirmed in 1917, demarcating the borders between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia and southern Cameroons of then, which means there is a state. Ambazonia is a state. And those borders were reconfirmed.
Just some clarification. In 1916?
1916 and in 1919. And also in 1931. So the Nina Simon Agreement. So these were reconfirmed then, and all these 3 years. So I'm just trying to let him know that it is not an assumption, but it is indeed a fact that this was indeed a nation, a territory that had boundaries, international recognized boundaries. And also, he talked about if I was a state and my military is killed by a group of people that I claim, I want to tell you that there is something that is called the United Nations Basic Principles on the use of force and arm by law enforcement officers. First of all, military were not killed in Ambazonia. If you had followed this war from when it started in 2016, you will know that protesters went out peacefully, and military has the legal obligation, the responsibility to protect civilians at all costs, irrespective of who is involved. So the military did not play its role as military to protect civilians. Rather, the military fired at civilians, armless civilians, and killed armless civilians. So civilians did not kill military. Military killed civilians. And those instances that you're quoting, I also want you to understand that the military has that the United Nations Basic Principles for the use of arm and by law enforcement officers says that in all situations where there is unrest within a nation, the law enforcement officers must take all appropriate measures necessary to stabilize the situation without any form of force, unless otherwise. But this is not the situation in the case of Ambazonia, because military came in and started firing at peaceful protesters. And all these instances you're quoting, that is when they had killed civilians on several occasions, and Ambazonia was militarized by the military forces of La République du Cameroon, that these instances took place. And this is when civilians could not longer take the mass arrests, the killings that was ongoing at that time, and they decided that they were going to defend themselves. So this happened this happened because civilians were trying to defend themselves. Military were not killed. The president of La République du Cameroon militarized Ambazonians, and Ambazonians were only trying to survive or to live, and that actually happened. So military was not killed in Ambazonia. Ambazonians, military killed Ambazonians. So okay, that is something I want you to know.
Thank you very, very much, Cecilia, for making that point. I will have to make a clarification here that I agree with you on the point that, I mean, all of us, I shouldn't say I agree with you, because it really doesn't matter who I agree with or I don't agree with. We know that the military killed some people in November 2016, January 2016, September 2016, September 2017, and October 2017. But what resulted to the head of state of Cameroon declaring war in the end of November, like you rightly corrected me, is when he was informed that some of the military, some of his military personnel or the state military have been killed by some fighters in Manu. I just wanted to make that point clear. So actually, military men were actually killed. So now I'm moving over to ask the same question I asked you guys to Omer, who should be coming. Okay, he's right there now. So Omer, you heard the question. So what is the state of the conflict, and what do you think has been achieved so far from either the separatist point of view or from the government of Cameroon point of view?
Good evening, sirs. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Omer.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Good evening. Good evening, Nchem, and good evening, Cecilia. And if Jiggi, you can hear me, good evening. Let me just quickly say, Jiggi is my brother, even though we have very fundamental differences as far as this struggle goes. We actually slept on the same bed for many, many years in Manchester before he left. Jiggi, good evening. Yeah, so the question, was it achievements of...
So what do you think is the state of the conflict now? Is 3 years on? Is it about to end? Are there any resolution in place? Has anything been achieved by anyone?
The state of the conflict at the moment is, unfortunately, I have to agree with Nchem. It's chaotic. It's a disaster. And I've been saying this for the longest time. It is ill-conceived. There is no readiness. Both camps are absolutely useless. The government is useless. Ambazonians are useless. And for the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to refer to that part of the country as the Northwest and Southwest, because until proof of the contrary, those two regions are still part of the country called the Republic of Cameroon. So I'm going to go with the Northwest and Southwest regions. Now, Cecilia said the government has been defeated. I don't know how. I don't see how they've been defeated. The control Ambazonia. I don't know what survey you carried out or what stats you are relying on to say you control the territory. People are drinking every day in Limbe. Life is going on in Limbe. You have pockets of violence in these small villages, in the outskirts of, say, outside the major towns. You have these small pockets of violence in and around Bamenda, Bafut, Batibo, like we saw some recent videos. In Manfe, you have pockets of violence in those villages. So what exactly are you controlling? You're not in control of anything. You control the territory when you have your people come out of the bushes, when you have that curriculum you promised us 3 years ago. We still don't know what's going on with that.
We'll talk about that later. Omer, just stick to the current question.
There's absolutely nothing worth mentioning as far as achievements are concerned, as far as this war goes. Absolutely nothing. It's disaster, and you cannot be talking of any achievements as far as this conflict goes. There's nothing worth mentioning. People are dying. So what achievements are we talking about here? There's nothing.
Okay, you think nothing has been achieved, and both from the separatist perspective and from the government of the Republic of Cameroon? Is that what you are?
Both are completely useless. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Okay, so I'm going to ask the same question to Jiggi. I know all of you guys, you have your positions, but so that everyone knows where you stand and from different perspectives. Hopefully, at the end of the day, you will be able to agree on something. So, Jiggi, welcome and thank you for accepting to take part in the big debate for the first time. And so, the question I have for you, I know you recently wrote a book on the birth of Ambazonia. Oh, is it right there? Sorry, I think we just lost Jiggi. Okay, I think he's back. Okay, Jiggi is back, albeit his position now, he's kind of sideways. So the question I have for you, Jiggi.
Hold on, I don't know what happened, but I'm not sure why, but I'm sideways.
Okay, I think you
We good?
Yes, I like the other position, but I prefer this one. Okay, so what is the state of the conflict? And then you also recently wrote a book on the birth of Ambazonia. So what do you mean by this? By the birth of Ambazonia, has any nation been born? Has anything been achieved so far?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
clearly, Jiggi, clearly.
the first question I got was, has any progress been made or have we achieved anything?
Yeah, the state of the conflict. Yep.
Okay, so I don't think the word progress is the most appropriate word to use in anything that's happening in Amazonia right now. Rather, I would think success is the more appropriate word to use. Now, this is an ongoing conflict, so we cannot use conclusive terms. So the reason I'm saying that, the Amazonians have so far succeeded in what we set out to do, the first thing we wanted to do was to wrestle control away from Cameroonians or from the Republic of Cameroon. Now, the fact that we don't have a proper administration in place doesn't necessarily mean that we are not controlling the place. As Omer Bayen, who actually, like I said, is my brother, I mean, we go, way back. But like he rightly said, if you go down to Limbe, Bamenda, and maybe 10 miles out of the major towns, everything looks like Cameroon is in control. But we have to remember that these major towns constitute a very small part of Amazonia. And if you go beyond 10 miles from these cities, you don't find any administration from the government of Cameroon. If you find any police officers, they're either driving by very fast or they're driving out very fast. They don't have any presence. The governor of Cameroon, the governor of who was in the former Northwest Province, he doesn't even live there. He lives in Bafoussam. And the same thing in the Southwest Province, the governor doesn't even live there. So all these administrative heads that were part of the Cameroonian government, they have little or no control. And that's how you know whether you have control over a place or not. If you go to the major cities, yes, the police stations are open. You would find gendarmes running here and there, but very delicately. They take their time. They're very careful when they go out. That's not how you control a country, or that's not how you control a territory. If you go out of Bamenda, go out of Boya, go out of Limbe, go out of Kumba, go out of Mampi, those major build-up, nothing is happening. There's some sort of local justice going on that the Amazonians have tried to put in place. The chiefs are in charge. They're the ones who dispense justice. The court system is completely paralyzed. And most importantly, the education system is completely paralyzed. If there's any schools going on, it's happening in, again, the major cities. Everyone knows that over 200 villages have been burned. Now, this is villages and schools. All these places have been deserted. There's barely administration. So as far as, wrestling control from, the Republic of Cameroon is concerned, we have succeeded 100%. That was one of the main goals. Now, the second thing that we sought out to do was to create awareness about the situation in Amazonia. Now, even within Cameroon, in the press, public places, everyone refers to us as Amazonians. 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. People would actually laugh. When foreign governments and foreign organizations are trying to talk about anything that's happening in Cameroon, they're talking about Amazonia. So that's that awareness that we sought out to create. And so that's why we can say anyway that we have succeeded in what we actually set out to do. When Rudolf was speaking, he said something about there's a lot of death, there's a lot of misery. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, when he was speaking, he said there's a lot of death, there's a lot of misery, nothing is working. Yeah, of course, nothing is working because we are in the middle of a conflict. Even the same Cameroon that he pretends to be a citizen of, they had to go through the same phase to be a so-called independent country. Was that bail for me?
No, not for you.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
His
So
background
even
was
when
from side.
all right. So even when Rudolph was, he said he used some very flashy words like death, disaster, and all those things that they like throwing around. Yeah, there's a conflict going on, and each time you have a conflict, there's bound to be death. There's bound to be a complete halt in economic activity. There's supposed to be strife, disease, all happen. There's no way you can lead a revolution. I mean, a revolution is not a walk in the park. It's not a cruise party. It's a revolution, which means there's bound to be death. There's bound to be suffering. So what we need to do is see what we can do to mitigate all these things that you're talking about. Of course, these things are happening. we're not denying that they are not happening. And you must also remember that before the Cameroonian authorities attacked us, these things weren't happening. Yes, our country was messed up because they messed it up, but we didn't have fights. We didn't have war. There wasn't any war going on. Cameroon that created this now. Ms. Amabo, what will happen if the people of Mali decided to break away from Amazonia and then started killing our forces? That's a whole different scenario that you're painting, which is not even what applied. You're giving the impression that Amazonians decided one morning and then started killing, Cameroonian forces or occupier forces. That's not what happened. We actually started marching with peace plans, and then they started shooting on us, which did not come as a surprise to anyone who understands how Cameroon functions. If you try to go out and ask for roads, you're going to get shot at. If you try to ask for better any service, you're going to get shot at. So that's just the way that Cameroon has always, operated on their side and on our side. So yes, we have a conflict that we have succeeded at what we set out to do. And it's an ongoing conflict, and it's and how it ends, how both parties respond going forward.
Okay, thank you very, very much. I was going to ask Nchem to respond, but he just stepped out from his position. So I will let Omer respond to that.
Yeah, let me respond to that. Can you hear me, Terence and Jiggi? Can you hear me?
Okay,
yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the key word here you keep throwing around, Jiggi, is control, control, control. You don't control anything. What was the whole idea for this struggle? Because right now, when you're talking about control, you're saying making those two regions ungovernable means you control it. You don't control anything. You don't control. Yes, true, good. Okay, you say the administrators live in Bafusam or whatever, but you don't control anything. You are in those villages kidnapping people, maiming people, killing people. That's not. Is that your idea of control? That's not control. Because right now, the state of your struggle is that you are fighting the same people you are meant to be protecting. You are kidnapping them. You are killing them every single day. You just succeeded in making the place completely chaotic. It's a disaster, but you don't control anything. So maybe your definition of control is different from mine, but you're not controlling anything. You just succeeded in making the place unsafe for your own people. No one else, your own people. Because the majority of the people suffering right now, Anglophones or Ambazonians, as you choose to call them, they are just scared of you. That's
Dr.
it.
Terence,
yeah.
Can we come in? I need to answer him on the first part where he said to me that Cecilia said we control Ambazonia. I think I would like to come back to that point.
Okay, thank you. I heard you. Let him finish, and it will be your turn. That's why I brought you up.
Can I continue?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, like I said, the only thing these guys have succeeded in doing is to scare people, their own people. And at the moment, Ambazonians or citizens are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. You don't know who to turn to. They don't trust the army, and they don't trust Ambazonians or the fighters. And trust me, these guys cannot sit in the diaspora. I live in the diaspora. They cannot sit in the diaspora and start throwing words around like control. No, you don't control anything. The only thing you succeeded in doing, like I said, over and over again, is to make the place unsafe for everybody. Unsafe is not control. You don't control anything. So wake up from that dream. You are not controlling anything. If you control any territory, you should be in charge of that territory, but you're not. Leave those villages and take the fights to the major towns. He said, oh, people, there are not too many people in Limbe or Bamenda. You can't even come to Commercial Avenue and fight, and you say you're in control. Commercial Avenue, small Commercial Avenue, you cannot fight. You cannot go down to my 1 or half mile in Limbe and fight. You are fighting in Batibo, making videos of kids singing the Ambazonian national anthem. You say you're in control. Control of what? That's not control. Let's define control.
Yeah. Okay, Omer, thank you very much for making that very, very...
Hello, Terence, are you there?
Yes, we are right here.
I would like to go on. You've given Omer a lot of time to repeat himself over and over and say the same thing.
Yes, you are going to talk. It's your turn.
Yeah.
Cecilia, like argument.
Omer, Yeah, thank you very much. And Omar, thank you for bringing that up. And when I listen to you talk, I begin to ask myself if you actually have an idea of what you're saying, or you have an idea of what is happening in Amazonia. Because when I tell you that we control Amazonia, I meant every word of it. And if you say we don't control Amazonia, I want to ask you this. Before 2016, Mr. Omar, like you said, we make noise and we don't do anything. Can you cite an instance in Amazonia where the colonial DO or the SDO will want to travel in any part of Amazonia and will travel in armor tanks, wearing life jackets, bulletproofs, carrying a convoy of military and all those things, and will not move freely within the territory where he controls and commands? Is there any instant if today the governor of the Southwest region, as you want to call it, the Southern Zone, I will call it that way, is going to any part of Amazonia, he will make sure he carries at least 10 convoys with him, 10 cars, well armed, he's in bulletproof and all that. That is to tell you that there are people who call the shot within that territory. There are people who control who passes there and who doesn't. That is control. Before 2016, Mr. Omar, I'm still putting it to you, that you will not see the government officials, the likes of Atanganji and that of Dongote, going around deceiving people in the name of giving scholarships to children to go back to school, which is all a political game, trying to manipulate the international community to think that there is everything is under control in Amazonia. No, everything is not under control by La République du Cameroon in Amazonia. It is under control by Amazonians. If they had control over Amazonia, they will not be bribing kids, holding tax, calling for back to school. You didn't need to call for back to school before 2016 in Amazonia. You just needed to wait for September to come and for kids to go back to school. That is to tell you that there are people on that territory that control the territory and decide what happens in that territory or not. Again, we have control over Amazonia, because when we say today is a ghost town, there is complete ghost town. You cannot see a fly flying around freely in Amazonia. That is telling you that there are people in that territory that control that territory. That to me is control, Mr. Omar. And if you think that because people, I don't know which videos you watch, but if you don't know that actions take place in Bamenda Commercial Avenue, I don't know the last time, I don't know which war you're living in, but the war I live in and the war of independence that I follow, true action takes place in Commercial Avenue and even in that Victoria that you're talking about. So we have control over Amazonia. And again, you talked of people kidnapping. I don't know. That is the narrative and the notion that the lives of Atanganji have sold to the people of the world, that Amazonians are the one kidnapping their own brothers and actually trying to inflict suffering on their own people. No. There is a fine line between those who have actually picked up arms to defend themselves and their territory, and those Turks that have been planted in Amazonia by the likes of Atanganji to infiltrate the fighting ranks of Amazonia and tarnish their image and put it to the international community and paint us like terrorists. So there is a difference between those that actually want to defend the territorial integrity of Amazonia and those that are doing extortion. That is the difference. You must be able to differentiate those group of people. Amazonians have pledged allegiance to protect their population, and that is what they are doing. All those harassing, extorting, and killing, as you say, I can promise you are not the real fighters who are fighting to defend and to liberate Amazonia.
Thank you very much, Cecilia. So I have a follow-up question to you, to the last point you made.
Hello, Mr. T.
Nchem, yeah, I will come to you. I know you are very eager to.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. But
you need to let me respond. You need to let me respond to Cecilia.
Yeah, no,
today, let me just tell you today.
No, today. Omar, give me 1 second. You will respond, but I have a question for Cecilia.
Is Terence there?
Yeah, Terence is right here. I can hear you.
Hello.
The show is hot. That's why people are going off and on. So.
Yeah, you made a point that
I don't know if Terence is there. Can you hear me, Cecilia?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
I can hear you, Mr. Rudolf, and if any other person I can hear.
Yeah.
Because it looks like everything is just going off. So that's why I'm trying to, reconnect to make sure.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine.
I'll put you on.
So who takes the floor now? Terence is coming in.
Yeah, Terence is talking. He can't hear me. Okay, Cecilia, I'll ask you the question and then I'll go out and come back.
Is Terence there?
Yes. Okay, I just put him on mute for a second. Okay, Cici, you mentioned very clearly that you are in control, and you made another point that the kidnappings are not done by the defense or the separatist fighters forces. So if you are in control, then you should be able to control what is happening in the territory. So why do you tolerate or allow these kidnappings to be going on? Because it's very rampant.
Actually, we are in control, and we are actually taking measures to curb down this kidnapping. That is why the Ambazonian Governing Council, they are actually, and the different defense groups on the ground have actually come together to form what is called a contender force, to bring down the fighting groups together, so that these fighting groups, as a group defending the national territory, can actually easily identify these thugs and bring them out, so that they can actually they take control over the territory. So this is a process. We have seen this is happening, and measures are being put in place to make sure that these thugs are eradicated. And that is why there is a coalition of defense forces on the ground right now building and still building, that it's called the contender force. And that is one of its rule, to actually take out these thugs that are actually committing these crimes and tarnishing the image of the Ambazonian revolution.
Okay,
so
thank you very much. I'll let Omar respond, and then Rudolf, you'll be the one to talk next. Let Omar just respond to
Omar is definitely asking a question, not responding, and I'm ready for him.
Omar will respond, and then let me just give you the order. Omar will respond. Cici, I know you'll be eager to respond to what Omar says, but after Omar speaks, Nchem will have to speak, because you and Jiggi has given him a lot of stick in his absence. So I think he needs to clarify his position, or at least express himself. So Omar, you respond first. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Right. When you're when you control something, it means you're in charge of that thing. That's Definitely. It. That's the definition. So you're not in charge of anything. So let's forget about control, because the problem here is control, the word control. So you are in charge, but you are not in charge. Okay, you're not in control of anything. The only thing, like I see, you succeeded in doing, and this thing of always saying Atanganji has planted thugs in your region who kidnap and maim. With all due respect, Cecilia, you make us look stupid, but we are not. As a matter of fact, I actually think that anyone who believes what you just said there, that the people kidnapping are people planted in there by the government, is a bunch of caught swallow. If I don't want to use the word rubbish, because I respect you, so I'll use a different term. It is total rubbish, nonsense. You are fighters, and I'm going to give you an example. You mentioned the Ambazonian Governing Council and the numerous groups you guys have. You have what's his name? The other one in America, Ebenezer Akwanga. On video, being accused for kidnapping a priest and for taking ransom, taking money. That was not Atanganji, that was Ebenezer Akwanga.
You said he was being accused?
Yes, he was being accused, and he was caught out on video.
I will let you respond.
And he was rambling and ranting.
Proven guilty. You know that, right?
He was we all saw the video. Please don't do that. Don't do that here. We all saw the video.
No, when somebody is accused, it must be until proven otherwise.
The problem is you should be proud of what you do. Take responsibility for what you do. Because kidnappings, maimings, killings are Ambazonians. Forget this Atanganji. Atanganji is a scapegoat for all of you. It's a soft target. So anyone can just throw Atanganji in there. I'm not saying he's a saint. I know he's an idiot. But when it comes to kidnappings and killings and maimings, forget, it's Ambazonians, 100%. So don't play those games here because you cannot fool everyone.
Well,
I'm a victim.
if that is
I'm
what
a
you
victim.
believe in, I will not fight over your beliefs.
It's a fact. It is a fact.
No, it is not. You just said that he was accused. And when somebody is accused, until that person is proven guilty, that person is not guilty.
Okay,
that is the common law system that we are fighting over now.
Don't dispute it.
Yes, presumption of innocence until proven guilty.
Take responsibility for what you do. You don't control anything. You don't control anything.
I am not the advocate of Dr. Ebenezer Akwanga, but I am just saying that
Cecilia, be gracious. Cecilia, be gracious. When you were talking, no one was talking. So learn to be gracious. When you were talking, everyone was silent. Okay. So when I am talking, you don't be silent for a few minutes.
Yeah, Omar, thank you very much, and Cecilia. So, Nchem, it's your turn. You've been out for quite a while. I will make sure I bring Jiggi back as well. So, you've heard everything they've had a lot of stick on you. So, it's your time to respond all the accusations and counter accusations.
Dr. T, thank you for bringing me in again. Mr. Omer, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Everyone can hear you.
Let me take it from where you ended. You see, these are the problems that we are having, and this is just why a lot of folks are getting killed daily, because of the kind of things that people like Amabo, Cecilia, and the rest are saying. They build on falsehood, twist the story, and sell it out there. I call it dog meat, and those young kids are buying this stuff, believing in all these satanic verses, and they are getting killed on daily basis. Amabo, Cecilia, and the rest, they keep spinning this tale on daily basis to stay relevant. She is telling you now that if you listen to her very well, you will know that she's AGF. Straight up. Let her tell us what happened. Let her tell us what happened in Gusang. Since she's telling us that they are saints, what happened in Gusang? What happened between her own group and another group that some of their fighters were being killed in Mato and Munyenge? What was going on? They keep killing each other. Is she going to refuse that? Is she going to refuse the Gusang attack? But let us get things straight. Let us get things straight. Hold on, you come in, Mr. Amabo. You have been saying a lot of things here. I'm also going to touch on what Jiggi said. The governor of the Northwest Province is not living in Bafoussam. The governor of the Southwest Province is not living in Douala. That is falsehood. Second point, you see the way they turn this history, Mr. Agbo. They have made it to look like we had a country, and then someone is seizing our country. They keep talking about territory and all that and all that and all that and all that and all that. Go back even to the history. 1961. 1960, French Cameroon had independence. 1961, English Cameroon was given two options: join Francophones or join Nigeria and have your independence. 1972, we moved from a federal republic to a unitary state. I'm not saying that truly, I too believe that we need a kind of form of government that is going to give more autonomy to people to manage their own resources, direct their own activities, chart their own economic development, and, enjoy their own prosperity. That's my belief. I have my own problems too with the unitary state because I believe that the unitary state is not working well for the people. But we come to that, Mr. Terence. Look at what Amabo Cecilia is saying there. She's talking about control. Let us go back to this issue about control. If you go back as far as 2016 or 2017, when we used to have some arguments about these things, Dr. Terence, what was their philosophy? To make the place ungovernable, burn down everything. All the mischievous things that have happened in the Northwest and Southwest, the architects are from overseas. No school boycott, burn down everything, make the place ungovernable. All those philosophies came from overseas. You and I know all the architects. We don't need here to be calling names. But it's ironic that they forget so soon that the architects here were saying, burn down everything, no schools, amputate even teachers, amputate CDC workers. Where did all those philosophies come from? Those ideologies came here. That's why whenever you see me talking or writing, I'm not really worried about these kids down there because I know they are being fed with dog meat. They are even dying for something that they don't even know. I always talk about these vermins overseas, these war and shit lords overseas. I always call them warlords, shit lords. I call them vermins because They are the one bringing out these ruinous ideologies and philosophies and selling it out there. And these kids, out of ignorance, they are buying those things. And then they get up that they are fighting for a country and they are getting killed. When they are killed, these same vermin overseas will jump now and say, oh, La Republic is killing our people. Oh, the genocide is going on. And then tomorrow they will come up with another philosophy. They are keeping a spin. They keep that spin to be going to stay relevant. That is what is going on. If you listen to what Ms. Amabo is saying, she's doing that kind of engineering. Talking about, oh, we had a fixed territory, oh, this and that, and all those kind of things to animate these young guys to be feeling that we are fighting for something. What are they really fighting about? Tell me, what are they fighting about? Dr. Terence, we have a problem in Cameroon, and I'm going to spill it out to you the way I see it. The Ambazonia problem that we are facing today is an offshoot of the Anglophone problems. And the Anglophone problem, the way I see it, is a political, social, and cultural deficiency. It is a subset of Cameroon's governing challenges. That's the way I see it. There is no way you can solve the Anglophone problems without the central government. There is no way you can do that. Because if you look at it very well, all the discontent that you can see is because of a policy deficiency. It's because of those policy deficiencies that we had to see all these inequalities, call them marginalizations or whatever. So to me, you can structure things in a way that the Anglophones are going to have more say on their affairs. More say on their affairs. Let them direct their own affairs because we have a bicultural nature. And what we are talking here is best practices. I don't see anything that you, the Anglophone, that you really need, that the Francophones do not need it. Don't they want great schools? Don't they want a better justice system too, like us? They do. So all these ramblings that you keep saying, oh, we're going to get independence or this and that. I don't want to speak about independence because I don't even know how that is going to come up. I don't even know. I don't know how that is going to come up. But what I see is people are getting killed over something because the folks who are out here, it's like they are just out to dish out more and more satanic verses always. She's talking about control, that they control the territory, right? Today, I was reading something in Kumba. You said you are put in place your lockdown. The SDO has amplified the lockdown. And the SDO has said, okay, since you guys want lockdown, let me increase the lockdown. Go to Facebook and see how they are going gaga. You ask for a lockdown. You control the territory. They have added you more lockdowns. Why are you going gaga? Why are you going gaga? You want a lockdown. You declare lockdowns. You are in control. Mr. T, you can be in control as she's trying to say. But let us ask, I go back to the fundamental question that I asked. Is the Northwest and Southwest better off than it was 3 years ago? That's the question I ask.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Rudolf. I'm very pleased you have answered some of the questions and commented on some of the issues which were discussed in your absence. So all of you, except Jiggi, has spoken at least more than one time. So I'll let Jiggi respond to both Omer and to you, and maybe Cecilia, if you can hear me. Is Jiggi there? Oops. I thought I could see him. Jiggi, can you hear us? Okay, Jiggi is not here. I would have loved him to respond, but in the meantime, we'll move to the next item we have to discuss today, and which is something I hold very, very close to my mind and to my heart, because I'm an educationist. It's about the education of kids in these two regions. So
came up like 5 times or 6 or 7 times in the mouth of Rudolf. So,
sorry, Cici. So we have to move to the next item, which is the school, no school conundrum. I'll read an excerpt here from several published articles, as well as from the United Nations Children Education. So they said that according to the Center of Human Rights, which is confirmed by UNICEF, they say 100 schools of the 6,000 remaining are open. The other 5,900 have been closed down. UNICEF estimates that 80% of schools were shut down, 74 destroyed, 600,000 children are affected. As at last week, according to one of the education administrators in the country, he says only 5,500 children out of the 422,000 in the Northwest who are supposed to go to school are able to go to school. So the question I have for all of you, and this is a very important question. So what is your take, or what is your position on children not being allowed to go to school? Omer, I will start with you.
Can you hear me, Doc?
Yes, I can hear you. Jiggi, can you, Omer, just before you continue, I think Jiggi is back. I want to ask if you can hear us. Jiggi, can you hear us? Okay, Omer, you go ahead, answer the question.
Okay, I think it makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, because for kids not to go to school or not to be in school, usually in any conflict or in any war, and you can research that as well. You can check that out, and you'll find out that there are 4 things that are considered untouchables, right? You've got schools, you've got hospitals, you've got places of worship or churches, and you've got the media, the press. There is no justification for keeping children away from schools. There is no reason for it. They have to go to school. I don't care what reason you come up with. It's not good enough. It makes no sense for those kids to be out of school. Now, we all know what these people came up with. Oh, we have a better curriculum. We'll come up with a better curriculum. It's been 3 years. They even had a pseudo PhD holder, and they were calling her Secretary of Education. It's been 3 years. Cecilia came on this same platform and told us they were working on that curriculum. It's been 3 years. What's happening to the curriculum? When you ask them, they tell you the curriculum in Cameroon is rubbish. You cannot compare Cameroon's curriculum with absolutely nothing. What do you have better? You don't have anything better. You're working on a curriculum. You have a government. You are doing this. You are doing that. You're keeping children away from school, making them sing the national anthem, the Ambazonian anthem.
Omer, on this topic, what can we do for children to go back to school? What can everyone do, both the separatists, the government, everyone? I'll ask you, Cecilia, I'm going to ask all of you the question, as well as Rudolf. I don't know what is happening with Jiggi. I will try to get him back, but Omer, so what can we do? What can everyone out there do to ensure children goes back to school? Because definitely there is no day, and I read from this school, there's no day no education is better than there's no day no education is better than any education.
Or less education will never be better than more education.
Exactly.
Now, that question is a very tricky question. It's a very hard question, because we all know who stopped schools in the first place. And I can guarantee you, at no time will the government of Cameroon stop children from going to school if they decide to go to school tomorrow. And that will have to mean telling these Ambazonians to stop to stop interfering with schools. We remember, and let me just remind you that the people who stopped schools were Ambazonians, and that was in January 2017. That was before the area became this insecure. It was a consortium that stopped schools in January 2017. I recall vividly. Second term, they're beating students. They're on video beating students from going to schools because they do not respect the no school, whatever they're doing. Now, it's my firm belief. Now they are saying, when you tell them that children need to go to school, they start telling you there's insecurity and all that. It is my firm belief that the government will not stop anyone from going to school. Tomorrow, I'm talking about tomorrow or Monday. But the problem here, the main problem here, is to the separatists. They stop schools in the first place. It's like cutting your noses to spite your faces, and then you turn around and say the place is insecure. Why did you stop schools in the first place? And that's the amateurish behavior we've been decrying for 3 years. You shouldn't have stopped schools in the first place. That's a no-go area. But because you are dealing with people who have no common sense, who have no sense on how a revolution should be carried out, that's why we are left in this impasse. You're asking me this question now, I cannot tell you anything. These people don't want to hear anything concerning schools. So what can I tell you? The place is insecure. There can be no schools, unfortunately.
If you were to advise anyone, any government, any administration, whether the separatist government, if they have any government, or some of the authorities or the Cameroon government, what can you tell them to ensure at least children go back to school?
I live in the diaspora. Kill yourselves for all I care. But children are a no-go area as far as I'm concerned. Do whatever you want. I don't care. That's why I can never, ever tell anybody to be fighting in Cameroon. I don't live there. I don't care. Do what you want. But children should not be involved in this because you are using kids. And it is Ambazonians using kids for this rubbish. They stop schools in the first place.
Okay, so Cecilia, so I'm going to ask you the same question. What is your position on the on children not going to school? For 3 years now, most children, you heard me read some of the estimates, which by me are some sort of an underestimation. Over 1 million children are not going to school in that part of the country. What is your position to this? This is the 3rd year.
As a matter of fact, I agree with you that maybe the statistics are underestimated, and it is indeed true that children have not been in school for the past 3 academic years. Yes, there is a fundamental problem. First of all, the question is, why did children stop going to school, which Omer is trying to escape from and keep just going round and round. Why did children stop going to school? He said that's why they should ask Ambazonians. So, but why did children stop going to school? And when the children stopped going to school, what prevented the children from going back to school? Because the people that actually called for school boycott, none of them held a gun. All they did, all what they had in their hands was just a paper and a pen. Then it came to stick peace plans. They called the government that there was an issue that needed to be addressed. It was not just the teachers who actually came out to talk. It was also the lawyers who actually decried that there was an issue with a common law system because it was being infiltrated. The lawyers, the teachers came in because they felt that the curriculum was no longer respected. It was no longer the Anglo-Saxon curriculum, but it was now infiltrated with the the French educational system. And they needed the government to sit down and talk so that they can amend this amicably, and children will go back to school. And children will go back to school. They took all the necessary steps. I like it that you said that it was the consortium that actually called for school boycott. I'm glad it wasn't the AGOPC that called for school boycott, or the APAM or Morris or the interim government of Ayok or that of Sisiku or Sako. It was a consortium, which means it was a group of people that said that there was a problem, a fundamental problem with the educational system. We needed to sit down with the government and talk so that we can ameliorate and amend this problem and for our children to go back to school. The government indeed wanted to sit, but left these leaders on the table. They left the leaders on the table, and that is where the problem all began. It didn't begin at the level of insecurity for children not to go to school. That is where the government failed to talk and provide solution to the immediate problem that was at the time. The government failed that by using brute force to impose what it wants on the people. It was actually going to provide a solution to the problem, not knowing that it was escalating the problem. And that is why we now move from that level to the level of insecurity that we are talking about today. If the same government that Rudolf and Omer are so talking about actually cared about the education of the children or the future of the children, the government should have known better to sit on the table with the leaders of the consortium to discuss and provide a solution to that problem. So I will still tell you today, like I said the last time with Ndole, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce her name well. The last person I had a debate with, yeah, that it will be unreasonable to send our children out to school. We all feel the pain that children are not going to school. But the fundamental problem we are having now is no longer that of the what the teachers came up with, but it's more severe than that, and that is the issue of insecurity. You say no matter what happens, children should not get involved. You're right. Children should not get involved. Parents have a decision to send their children to school if they can guarantee the security of their children. And the question will still remain, has the problem that actually brought about the school boycott been resolved? I will still tell you that the life of every child is more important than a child who is alive and uneducated is much more important than a dead child. Because in as much as every child has a right to education, every child has a fundamental right to life. And that we should never forget. We don't want to bring children into this, but the children are already into this.
I have a question for you. So you think that until you want that until this conflict is resolved, whether it takes 100 years before school?
No, that is not what I think. So absolutely not. So that is not what I think. We have to understand that there is a difference between schooling and there is a difference between education. What we are doing in Amazonia right now is we are providing these children actually have some form of a home trained education. We don't just allow children to stay at home. They provide them with basic kind of education.
Just hold on, just before you continue. I read an article today in Reuters. This woman who used to be a teacher used to teach children in her home, about 8 children. She mentioned that this had been going on for several months when one Saturday, 5 Amber boys came to her house. Aqua was cleaning vegetables, and as soon as she saw them, she stopped what she was doing. They said they had been told that I continued to teach children at home. I lied that they were my neighbor's children. One of them asked me to shut up. He was the youngest of them. He said I should stop it immediately because they have declared no school in Amberland. This was a woman talking, teaching children at home. And you are talking about home education. So apparently that information you are giving us is not accurate.
No, what you are giving me is not accurate. I don't know how far that information is true.
This is from the Guardian newspaper. And they spoke to this lady.
That is a newspaper. They can get what there are a lot of newspaper that they have information that is not corroborated. What are you talking about? So what we encourage home education. So I cannot come here and pretend and say that Amber boys will go. But who are Amber boys? There is a distinction between these people you call Amber boys and fighters that fall within different fighting ranks. There are different groups in restoration forces, and we have groups that have names. They have unique names and identity. When you just generalize everything and call them Amber boys, that is a problem because you don't know who goes out there and claim to be an Amber boy. We encourage home education, so there is no way an Ambazonian fighter who belongs to any of the fighting group will go to somebody's home and threaten a teacher that is teaching children at home.
At home, yep.
Yes. So there is a problem with this word, with this term, in quote, Amber boys. That is a big problem. We have to differentiate this thing.
So I have the next question for you. So one of the architects of the current stalemate, Nchem BBC, this is what he said, and I quote, "The protest was to improve what we had, not to destroy the limit we had." Nchem BBC said, one of the most prominent leaders. So it's better if we don't go to school, then we are further marginalizing ourselves.
Nchem BBC have said a lot of things in the last years. He's been inconsistent in a lot of statements that he made.
It's not about
BBC is a face of the revolution. We appreciate him for that, but he has said a lot of things. He is in captivity, and he can be influenced to say anything.
I'm talking about the issue of school. I'm reading what he said about the school.
That is what I am telling you. Don't forget where Nchem BBC is. Nchem BBC is in the heart of La République du Cameroon, in the dungeons of La République du Cameroon, undergoing torture, and systematic torture as that. So at any point, Nchem can be influenced or coerced into saying things that he actually not meant them. So he has said a lot of things lately. I am not.
I agree. So this is the question I have for you. You think Nchem BBC saying that children, our children, all of us, your sisters, your brother, uncles, children, nephews, nieces, go to school, is an influence from someone.
Mancho has a right to call for children to go back to school, just like Omer is having and Rudolf is having the same thing. And I can go up and say that children to go back to school. That is a call for children to go back to school. But what I don't know whether Mancho can guarantee these children is the security of these children sitting in the dungeons of La République du Cameroon. He calls for children to go to school. Of course, we all want our children to be educated. The question we are asking ourselves is, you send this kid to school, can you guarantee the security of that kid? If you can't guarantee the security of that kid, then don't send the kid to school. Parents have a total 100% right to send their children to school if they can guarantee their security.
If children are going to school, who would attack the children in school?
Are you serious? Are you honestly serious? We have stray bullets running across the national territory, and you're asking me who is going to attack the children? You don't actually need bullets come from any angle, and you cannot control a stray bullet, unfortunately, because they are military men attacking the communities, and children live in the communities to go to school. And what schools are we even talking about here in the name of God? What schools? Schools have been raised down by military people, and we have a lot of children, more than 1 million children sitting in bushes, and there are some in refugees camp. And we are here talking about going to school. What schools are they going to? Communities have been raised. You want the children to leave the bushes and go to school? You want them to go to, which of the schools are they going to?
Okay, thank you very, very much, Cecilia. I will let Nchem give me. So, Nchem, I'm going to ask you the same question.
I'm asking part of this debate.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much, Jiggi, to that you are there now. Okay, yeah. So, unfortunately, we can't go back to the last issue we discussed because now we are talking about the skill. I sincerely apologize for the technical difficulty. I didn't realize you were there. So, I will ask you the same question now before I go to Nchem. So, Nchem, hold your thoughts. Let Jiggi talk a bit, please. Okay, so, Jiggi, I'm so sorry. So, what is your position on the school, no school conundrum? And how can we ensure, what can we do to ensure our children go back to school? Jiggi, are you there? Can you hear me?
Like I said when I started speaking, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay. So I don't know what happened, but I missed out on the whole issue of COVID. So I want to use this opportunity to go back.
Yeah, your line is very, very terrible. I think it's your
address the issue of control. I didn't get it. Rapping about stuff. Is that better? Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, Jiggi, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So about the issue of control now, before 2016, so Omer and Rudolf were talking about people getting kidnapped. Let's not pay attention to the word kidnap. Let's look at the act. Before 2016, do you know how many people get kidnapped every day by Cameroonians?
No, we don't know. Tell us.
Call them arrest.
Jiggi, your line is breaking. I don't think. Can you guys hear Jiggi? His line is horrible.
Almost a lot of people get kidnapped in Cameroon by the Cameroon security.
Yeah, Jiggi, I'm very sorry. I would have to take you out. Yeah, it has to be a connection, an internet connection. So if you have a laptop, I prefer you use a laptop because usually incoming calls do distort the program, messages and calls. Okay, so I will be taking Jiggi out, and Rudolf, I will ask you the same question. What can we do, everyone, both the government, the Separatists, to ensure children go back to school in these two regions? Because it's absolutely necessary that schools, our children go back to school.
Dr. T, the first thing I'm going to say is that the school boycott has become a lifeline. It is a political lifeline for Amazonian fanatics and their leadership. Without the school boycott, without the school issue, they become irrelevant. So if you listen to what Cecilia, are you getting me, Dr. Terence?
I can get you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
can
hear you.
I can hear you too.
If you listen to what Cecilia Amabo was saying, and if you scan the internet and read what about schools, the first thing you are going to realize is that these people are more focused on history than on solutions. They are more focused on history than on solutions. When you ask them about, you see they will run from security, jump on curriculum, come back to our military burning schools. How many schools have been burnt? How many schools have been burnt in the Northwest and Southwest? I'm not saying schools have not been burnt. And if schools have been burnt, is that a reason why other children will not go to school because some schools have been burnt? That's a weak logic. Secondly, when they talk about insecurity, Dr. Terence, I'm going to give you an example. Many people fail to understand that we have lived with the military since 1961. Oh, no. You have military camps in Limbe, Boya, Manfe, Ekondo Titi, Kambe, Wum, Tombe. The whole stretch. What's that quick? Sorry, Dr. T. The whole stretch of Ring Road, we had the military in between us. Do you think these military people don't like their children to go to school? They do. But this is the issue. Ambazonia wants to use the school issue to show that they are in control. And this is what is affecting our people. They create the hype about insecurity and all that and all that and all that. They talk about the insecurity and insecurity and insecurity. The question is, who is causing the insecurity? When did the government or the army in Cameroon decide to be against people going to school? They don't want to talk about this. They don't want to. They will jump from there to curriculum, jump from there to insecurity, jump from there to schools being burned and all that and all that. But like you said, what can we do for our children to go back to school in the Northwest and Southwest? We just have to bury our grievances, and even if we don't agree on anything, let us find a common understanding that it is of our own interest for these children to go to school. The government cannot come and force people to go to school. Whether the government cannot militarize all the schools to protect people. So all we need is a consensus and a kind of understanding. She said they are in control. Cecilia Amabo said they were in control of the territory. She was debating with Omer Bayen on that. So if you are in control of the territory, you are not in control of the schools. You say you can shut down the territory. I want to pin her on her own logic. She said they control the territory. They can shut down the territory when they want. They can do whatever they want. Agreed. Can you let children go to school now? Stop blaming the government. You control the territory like you said. Dr. T, am I making sense?
You are making sense. I can hear you.
No.
No, I want to
hold her in her own logic.
No, after you speak, Jiggi, and then I will ask her to respond because
Cecilia Amabo was fighting with Omer Bayen, stressing the point that they are in control 80%. They decide who can pass on the road and who cannot pass. They decide when to shut down the territory. We clap for her. You are in control. Can you let our children go to school? You are in control. So why was she talking about the government now? That the military and all that when they are in control? That is contradictory. If you are in control, let our children go to school. You say you have the powers to shut down the territory. We clap for you. Clap for yourself. You have that power. Can you use that power positively now and let these kids be in school? Otherwise, you are becoming destructive. You are becoming destructive to these children. You acknowledge here online over 580 something people are watching this, 129 viewers on this show, that you have the powers. You are in control of the territory. Your spokesman too have even said so. Even your auto-proclaimed president has said so, that we shut our territory down when we want to shut it down, and all word. Fine, you have the powers. So stop lying and hiding behind insecurity. Because if you control your territory like you claim, then you should have the measures to put in place security for our children to go to school. Dr. T, when did the army ever become against children going to school in Cameroon? I'm not talking about university crises and issues like that, where sometimes they have unleashed troops to come and quell down riots and all that. When did you ever see the army interrupting people from going to school, secondary schools or primary schools and all that? When did you ever see that? All of us went to school in Cameroon. When did you ever see that? I hold Cecilia Amabo to task.
Okay. Thank you.
I hold our president to task. They said they are in control of the territory. So they are the ones creating the insecurity. Allow our children go to school. It falls on you. You have the onus to do that because you say you have the power to shut down the territory. Clap for yourself. Leave our children go to school. Simple.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Rudolf. You made your point. What I've gathered, and most importantly, is that you said so many things.
Let me add something before you cut me short. She was talking about the grievances that came up before schools were being shut down. The same architects who shut down school, even like Dr. Congo, Barrister Congo, Bala, Agbobala has even asked for schools to resume. Even Tassan was in detention. When Tassan was being interviewed, Tassan said, government, I quote Tassan, government has satisfactorily remedied, I think, 70 or 80% of our problems. So schools should go on. Okay. That's it. This very revolutionaries jumped again and said,
thank you very, very much.
It's not that.
You made your point, so thank you very, very much. I'll go to Jiggi.
Are you serious, Rudolf? Really?
Yeah, Cecilia, wait, I'll have to speak now. So when you guys speak, I try to keep my mouth shut so that everyone can hear you. So just give me my own time to speak and ask you. I will appreciate that. So, like the take-home message here, you've said so many things. You try to you try to hold Cecilia by what she said, but I believe one of the most important things you said here, to me, is that at least there should be a consensus. They have the government and the separatist fighter have to agree on something, one way or the other, for the kids to go back to school. I think that is very important. So now I will have to go to Jiggi. Jiggi has so many things to say. I'm sure he wants to respond to something that was said earlier, and then I'll ask him this the question on the school no school conundrum. So Jiggi, you have the floor. I'll give you a little bit more time. Yeah, Jiggi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. So go ahead, you talk.
Okay, so yeah, so the issue was if at any time you don't hear me,
we really can't hear you. Sisi, can you hear him? Yeah,
no.
It's breaking. Yeah, it's really, his connection is really very, very bad.
I don't know how many. What capacity can the platform take at once? Maybe it could be.
The platform can take at least 4 people. It is his connection, because even when
we have 5.
No, 4 people can be seen at the same time. I can put the other people in the lobby, as many as 16 people.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's his connection. Let me try again to bring him. Okay, he's here now. Let's try. Yeah, I'll try to remove.
Hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, but I don't seem to be able to see myself, though.
We can see you. People in the audience, if anyone can see Jiggi or hear him, can you just post a comment on the post?
Dr. T, I can hear you very.
Okay, go ahead and respond. Yeah, go ahead and respond.
All right, so I was responding initially to the issue of control, where Omer and, Nchem Rudolf was saying that Amazonians don't have any control on, on the ground. And
Oh.
Can you hear him?
No, we lost him. Yeah. Let me know if you can hear him, Omer.
No, I can't. The Russians must have taken over North America.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear? I can hear you guys.
That's very
the Russians, I can hear you guys.
Unfortunate that we lost him, and I really wanted him to make his point. So to the members of the audience, we sincerely apologize for that technical difficulty.
Take him out. Take him out for now. Then you bring him back again later.
Yeah, yeah, I've done that quite a few number of times, and I even asked him to connect using a computer if this is not working. But I don't know what is happening to him.
Right, just carry on. Take him out and bring him back. Just carry on. You
okay,
bring him.
I'll do that later. Okay, so we will move to the next important item. I think the resolution here, or Omer, I will probably let you say one or two more things, because I think this issue of school resumption is imperative that people take it very serious. It's very important. So Nchem proposed that maybe the two authorities, maybe the Separatists and the government of the Republic of Cameroon, need to get to a consensus, if not in the management of the country, but at least for children to go to school. What is your take on that? And I'll ask Cecilia that same question, because I think that's what should be done.
Yeah, you remember we had this discussion some time ago about, I don't know if it was on this platform or we were actually chatting on Facebook, one of those posts, or in the comment section, where I said, I do not believe that if children had to go to school, then the government was going to stop them. And I still don't believe that the government is going to stop them now if they go back to school. Now, Cecilia is talking about insecurity. It's true. There's insecurity. The only way for children to go to school now, if your fighters put their weapons down today, the government is not going to stop children from going to school tomorrow. That's it. You are in no position to make any demands.
Wow.
You don't make any demands. The name of the country is called the Republic of Cameroon. You don't make demands. You don't decide when children go to school and when they don't. You're hiding behind this insecurity thing, like James said, and it's beneath you. It makes absolutely no sense.
Okay,
because you guys don't sleep in the first place. You have to figure it out.
Yeah, Omer, hold on. You and I know that. I mean, to be honest, we know that the Separatists are not going to lay down their arms for school to resume. So what can they do? I mean, together with the Republic, because these two.
You ask me what could be done. That's one thing they could do.
Okay.
If it doesn't happen, there will be no school, unfortunately. That's the impasse we find ourselves in. Why should the government make concessions? And like I told you the last time, and I still maintain it, and it's a fact, this is not emotions, right? The government actually has a monopoly of violence. This is what ambassadors are not telling you. Every government, not only the Cameroonian government, every government has a monopoly of violence. She knows that. I'm sure she's done international law because she's always quoting laws. She knows that. Put your weapons down.
Is it my turn, Dr. Terence?
No, hold on. I want to bring Jiggi back. Just give me 1 second, and I'll give you. Omer, have you finished talking?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Okay. So Cecilia, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I give you 2 minutes before we have to move to the next.
Why are you specifying my own time? You didn't give any 2 minutes to Omer.
I told Omer before.
Okay, now before you take 1 minute of my 5 minutes, this is what I'm going to say to Omer. Omer, you say we are in no position to make demand. I beg to differ with you that we are in every position to make demands, and that the separatists you call them separatists, but I call them freedom fighters, the Ambazonians fighters fighting for their liberation. They should lay down their arm. I tell you, no, it's not going to happen until the government will sit on the negotiation table and determine how it's exiting Ambazonia. So that is what is going to happen. And to Rudolf, who says that Cecilia claims they control the territory, they should send our children to school. We control the territory. We will determine how our children will go to school. We will provide a type of education we want for the children. We will rebuild the schools for the children, and we will rebuild our communities and allow our children to go to school. We control the territory. We will determine the kind of education that we want to give to our children. So it is not like a competition that you say, because we say we control the territory, we should allow our children to go to school. In as much as we control the territory, we still understand the importance of education in the lives of our children, and we know that our children will not sit under sticks to study. We know that the children need classrooms to sit in to study, and we will build those classrooms, build an educational system that will be befitting to our children. That is how we control our territory. So we are in 100% position to make demand.
You made a very interesting point. Yeah, I heard you. We heard you made a very interesting point that you will build schools, you will determine them. So when do you intend to do this? Because it's 3 years now.
Yes. The children why do you guys keep saying it's 3 years? Jesus, this is a war.
No, children are not going to school. It's very important.
Children are not going to school. Yes, that is true. Children are not going to school. But we keep hearing this thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, children are not going to school. We are not disputing that fact. That is a fact that we cannot dispute. And you saying that when we are at war, that is something we should not forget. We are at war. And when this war is over, the children will go back to school in the formal way that we want them to go. But for the time being, we are giving them informal education, and that is more important than them going out there to go lose their lives. That is something we should understand. So you should stop saying that it's 3 years on, it's 3 years on. We are not saying, I don't want to give you specifics.
No, how do you give them the informal education? You don't know when.
I have told you children stop. Sorry?
Yeah. You don't know when. Do you know when the war will stop? You don't know.
No, you don't determine when a war will stop, Dr. Terence, for God's sake. And you don't determine when a war will end.
You don't have a right to stop education. Even during war, you don't have a right to stop education of children too. You know the law better than I do, but you know
that is completely true. That there are areas in times of war that are called the safe zones, like Omer was trying to state them at the beginning. Those are areas under international humanitarian laws that are no-go areas. Schools, churches, hospitals, because they are called safe haven. That is true. But the question I'm asking you is this. Where are the schools that the children are going to? We have seen military on camera setting schools ablaze. And you're talking as though we are just fabricating these stories. Rudolf keeps saying 1961 and 1962. It seems to me Rudolf keep mentioning before by 1961, 1962, and I feel so sorry. It feels to me like his history of Cameroon is limited to 1961 and 1962. There is more history to this Ambazonian war than 1961 and 1962.
You're in the diaspora, and you are telling us, or you are telling parents back in Cameroon when they will go to school, when their kids will go to school. You are going to determine when
that parents have the right to send their children to school. No, Uma, don't misquote me and don't misconstrue me. I said before that children have the total right to send their children to school if they can guarantee their safety. Nobody's telling them that don't send. If you know that you can guarantee the safety of your kids, send them to school. But the question I'm even asking is, which school are they going to sending these children to school? To.
Dr. T, can you hear her?
Yeah, I can hear her. Can you hear her as well?
I can hear her.
Okay, so
no, you really need to hear me. He needs to hear me.
Okay, I'll try. I'll show you. Yes, you. Okay, I think Jiggi is here now. Let's try again. Yeah. Okay, Jiggi, can you hear us? Yes, we can hear you now. Okay, you go ahead and make your point, please.
I don't even know what point we are on, but
okay, we are on the school no school conundrum. So I'm asking your position on the no school and what can
the whole school. Nobody wants. All right, can you guys hear me? Omer, everyone.
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you a bit. If we lost you, I will let you know.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, okay, cool. So I mean, about the school, nobody wants their kids to be uneducated. That's the first thing. So back from that is what kind of education are we getting in Cameroon? Don't get carried away by people like Rudolf and Omer who are investing a lot of emotions into this thing. I mean, Cameroon, we don't even build roads. Cameroonians cannot even build roads. If you want to build anything above a certain number of floors, you need people from other countries. The education system in Cameroon doesn't teach us anything beyond reading and writing and a few other things. All the doctors that we train in Cameroon, they're all abroad. Anyone who gets trained in
Doctor, are you hearing?
Because the education
yes, I can hear him.
not even used,
but I can't.
Half of the things that I'm learning
okay.
don't even apply.
Give me 1 second.
So the education that we all receive from Cameroon doesn't even permit us to be able to become anything in Cameroon. So we get whatever education we can get, and it applies to other countries. I went to school in Cameroon about the education in other countries. I learned about the mining, the farming, and everything else in every country except anything that applies in Cameroon. If I take the map of Southern Cameroon right now, Nchem Rudolf, and ask them to point is or Legum or any other thing in Cameroon, they have no idea. But give them a map of any other country. That's the kind of education system that we have. And then we all know that there's Amazonia right now. So when a good chunk of the school-going population is in the bushes, all those villages have been burned. Their schools have been burned. Cameroonians
I'm not hearing him, doctor.
Under a tree to go to school, but this is 2019. So as long as the war keeps going on,
and I'm seeing only you on the screen.
We're not going to have any school in Amazonia. It's not because we control the territory or because Cameroonian soldiers are there. No, it's because one, there's a lot of insecurity. Babies are being killed. My daughter is in Cameroon. She would call me and I call. She was like, "Daddy, there's popcorn being popped." She's sitting in the house. Stray bullets are flying. Every child comes back from school every day with use shrapnel or casings. That's the kind of education you want your children to go and have. It's not safe. So as long as the government of Cameroon insists on occupying Amazon, there will be absolutely no school. And with that conflict that's going to last years, we're going to create a whole generation of illiterate. I mean, a lot of the people that we see on the doctors and intellectuals, look at the things that they write. You ask yourself if there was a struggle 10 years ago. A lot of the people that we call intellectuals, they can't even proper English sentence. They can't even speak properly. Now, if you go to international organizations...
Dr. Terence, I'm sorry to interject, but can you hear him?
Yes, I can hear him.
All these other people who think everything is okay. That's what we use to give them... Yeah, so people like, Omer and all these other of people who think that everything is fine in Cameroon until we came and ruined it will tell you that if you go and look at the if you want to look at the top 1,000 universities in Africa, there's nothing there from Cameroon. The universities in Cameroon look like high schools in the countries where any of us on this panel, nothing to be proud about it. If you stop everything now and we send these children to school, they're going to come out and be like every one of us. We think we know a lot of CEOs in the world, Africa, or very few. So we are almost virtually last in everything. So the education system that we have been using is primitive.
Yeah, it seems as if we lost Jiggi there. Cecilia, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I was really finding it difficult to hear him, and that's the same thing Rudolf was saying.
Yeah, it was a bit difficult.
It looks like when he comes closer to his phone or his microphone, he speaks well, and then when he relaxes, then everything just goes away.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, and I also think it's the best.
Hello, Dr.
Anyway,
T.
so yes, yeah, can you hear me? Okay, we'll move to the next issue for today, which is the jailing of the separatist leader, Sisiko Ayuktabe Julius, and its effects on the war. So, Rudolf, I will ask you this question. Is the jailing of Mr. Tabe Julius, who is, according to several articles, this...
Hello, Dr. Terence, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Terence, but I don't think he can hear you.
Okay, so Omer, I will ask you this question. I will ask the same question to Rudolf and to Cecilia as well as we go towards the end of the show. I think we have like 20 more minutes. So if you can run through this. So the many, especially in the international scene, consider Mr. Tabe Julius as a moderate. Now the government of the Republic of Cameroon has jailed him. So do you think this is going to help to resolve the conflict? Or what effect will this jailing have to the overall conflict as well as the school, no school conundrum? And then secondly, was it a right decision, or what do you make of the decision to give his sentence just a week or two before school resumption?
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he was sentenced in December, because I saw a lot of people saying just before school resumptions he was sentenced. So for that reason, they're not going to school. It doesn't matter. They were not going to go to school even if he was sentenced next year.
Shut the door.
So that's a non-starter in the first place. However, I'm not going to talk about his arrest in Nigeria because that's a completely different thing. About the sentencing itself, it's 100% wrong. First of all, at no time, civilians should never be tried in a military court. It doesn't matter what crime they commit. The only time you can try civilians in a military court is when the courts of the country are not functioning. There are only two instances: when there's if there's a war and all the institutions have been destroyed, then you can try them in a military court if the court exists. And the second instance you can try civilians in a military court is when there's a court martial. And as you know, when there's a court martial, the army is in control. The army is in control of the police, the executive, the judiciary, it's the legislative, and all that good stuff. So it's completely 100% wrong to have tried them in a military court. It's a total sham. So it makes absolutely no sense. So it's right for the international community to be outraged about that. You don't try any civilian in a military court. It's never happened before, and it shouldn't be happening. But we know Cameroon is a democratic republic.
These sentences will facilitate the resolution of the conflict?
Not at all. Not at all. What's happened since they were sentenced? It's getting worse.
Okay, Rudolf, I will ask you the same question as well. What do you make of the sentencing of the separatist leader? And what do you think would be the effect of this to the overall, the current...
Hello, Mr. Terrence.
Cecilia, Omer, can you speak? Ask Nchem if you can hear
Dr. T, are you there?
Nchem, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mr. Omar. I got what you were saying, but
Omer, can you
I had a small disagreement with that.
Hold on, Nchem. Terrence, he can hear me, but for some reason he cannot hear you. I don't know why.
Yeah,
exactly.
He heard anything I said.
Okay. Oh, no worries. In order,
Terrence is not coming on. I can't hear him.
Nchem, hold on 1 second. He's trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to sort it. Okay. So,
but can you hear me, Nchem, or how do I pronounce your name?
Yeah, Rudolf. You can call him Rudolf.
I can't even see his image on my laptop, but I can see him on my phone.
Can you hear me, Rudolf?
I can hear you, Cecilia. I can hear you clearly.
And Rudolf, can you hear me?
I don't think.
No.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, Dr. T, I can hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so my question is, before you respond to Omer, I'm going to ask you the same question. Give us your own perspective. What do you make of the jailing of the separatist leaders? And do you think with this jailing, this will resolve the conflict? Or what will be the effect on the overall progress or deterioration of the current conflict?
Dr. T, the arrest and conviction of Cecilia Tabe has been very, very controversial. Like what Omer said, he doesn't see any reason why they should be tried in a military court. Every country has its own laws and its own judicial system. Cecilia Tabe Ayok is not the first Cameroonian who has been tried in a military court in Cameroon. If you remember, after April 6, 1984, all those culprits of the coup d'etat, they were tried by the military tribunal. So we have always had a military tribunal in Cameroon that deals with cases of high treason and, you know, some kind of particular cases that have to do with arms.
Just before you continue, sorry for interjecting, but everyone who was arrested, most of those who were arrested and tried in the military tribunal after April 6, most of them were military.
No, not all were military.
I said most.
Not all. Yeah. Not all of them were military. There were two who were tried on the military. The problem is, what is the crime that they are being accused of? That is the crime that defines where they're going to be tried. If it's something that has to do with armed robbery or high treason and all that, most of them are taken to the military tribunal. That is how our...
So is that written... Like I said, most of the time, I make fun of you as my resident constituent. Law. So, anywhere in the Constitution of the Republic of Cameroon that civilians should be tried in the military court. I don't know, but if it is, you can tell us. I'll be very delighted.
I cannot really say that at the moment, but I was talking out of events that have happened in the past, and some of them I cannot really cite something like that from the Constitution at this moment. I cannot, except I have to look at that up.
Okay, yeah.
But I was trying to draw your attention to the fact that, based on what Bayen was saying, that this is not the first time they try civilians in the military court. I was not saying I endorse it. I was just trying to throw more light on what he said. Okay, and then I cited the example of 1984 April 6 coup d'etat, where even Takole Daisala and all those people, they were tried by the military court after this April 6 coup d'etat and sent down to Konenge. I was just trying to make him to know that this is something that has been going on, and it's not straight. Even if it's not, it's not the best of the best practice that we expect. So coming back to your question now on Cecilia Tabe, let us look at what was he accused of. Let us look at the things that have happened. I followed up something somebody was saying that people like Cecilia ought to be lined up and shot. I listened to something like that. But this is what I think, Terrence. You see, everything rises and falls with leadership. Seseko Ayok and all the rest, it's unfortunate that they have been tried. On the one, they have been sentenced on the one hand, On the other hand, too, if you look at the things that have happened, especially in the Northwest and Southwest because of Siseko Ayuk, there are people who even feel that the state is too lenient to have given him just a life jail. Some even believe that they should have killed him. He should have been shot to death. That's what some people think. Other people feel that all those political prisoners ought to be released, and we come to a consensus and find a pathway for the state to move forward and for everyone to be.
You've said what other people think, different school of thought. What do you think is the ideal way?
To me, I feel that Siseko ought to be in jail, but not a life jail. Siseko ought to be in jail, but not for life. That's what I feel. Why do I say that? You cannot. If people like Siseko are indirectly responsible for some of the things that are happening, we cannot, like they said, Siseko and the rest, they have helped to destroy the peace in the Northwest and Southwest. I must say this openly. They have. Remember, Siseko was one of the guys who activated these kids to go on and stand for independence. He said over BBC that he was going to be present in Buea. And when the time came, Siseko was not even in Cameroon, and those young children believed him, and they were killed. Omer Bayen, I don't know if you remember when we were talking about this issue at one time, before the independence. Siseko told his kids that he was going to be in Buea on Independence Day. Siseko was not there, and these kids were killed. For that, I don't forgive Siseko.
Based on his jailing, do you think this is going to facilitate the resolution of the current conflict?
Siseko is in jail. He should be in jail for a while. But a way forward too is that the president has to lead. Everything rises and falls with leadership.
Yeah, that's actually the last. Yeah, that's actually the last question I have for you, or what could be done. So maybe
yes, at some point, Dr. Terence, at some point, when tensions have calmed down, people like Siseko in jail, they have to be released. And then, we find a consensus and begin to push forward. But for now, Siseko should be in jail. That will also serve as a deterrent. So that trial, the only concern I have with the trial is that the sentence is too long. And I know that in our judicial system, the president always has the final say. So even if Siseko and the rest have been sentenced to life jail, it should not be something that people should kill themselves over. Because as situations will evolve, I personally believe that the president is going to use his goodwill and release people like Siseko, and we can find a consensus and go ahead. But I don't forgive Siseko for sending those children to the streets and they were killed. When Siseko lied that he will be in Buea.
Okay,
he will be in
Buea. Thank you very much.
That's where I lost respect for him.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Nchem. So, Cecilia, I'm going to ask you the question. This time around, I'm not going to tell you how much time you will talk. I will stop you when it's time. So that finish. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you have the you know the question. What is your take on the jailing of Siseko Ayuk, and do you think with this sentence it will facilitate the resolution of the conflict, or would it cause a deterioration?
First of all, I'll start with the sentencing. The sentencing in itself is illegal. I'll put it that way, because every state has a legal obligation to ensure that the courts are actually impartial, equitable, and independent. And besides, for the first time, I'll be agreeing with Omer on this show.
Fantastic.
The state, yeah.
I can't even hear. I can't hear Cecilia.
The state has no legal obligation. There is no way. I was looking at Rudolf, thinking that he would bring in some aspects of the constitution, or at least the preamble of the Cameroon constitution that would be stating that civilians are supposed to be tried at a military court. But this is not.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Nchem, he wasn't getting you, so I think he switched onto his phone. So
okay.
Yeah.
So civilian military court are exclusively for military offenses and for military people, and so trying civilians in military court already is guaranteeing those civilians the fact that they wouldn't be getting any free and fair trial. because trying civilians in military court, don't forget that this military court is not even in Ambazonia. It's not even in Bamenda, the Bamenda military court. We are talking about a Yaoundé military court that uses a language that is not even the first language of the accused. And that means that they are using a language against the accused that they don't even understand. So that, first of all, violates their rights, and it violates the fact that they are tried in a military tribunal as civilians. So that trial in itself was completely illegal. That trial in itself was...
Sorry, Cecilia. Many would say Mr. Yuktabe used to work in Douala and understood French.
No, we are talking about a whole bunch of Ambazonians. Ayok is just one of them, okay? We are talking every person that has been picked on this issue of Ambazonian War of Independence has been tried in that court. Even people who left from Frukankan who have never heard the word bonjour are tried in that court, and and that is the same procedure that they've been taking on all. And we are saying that it is illegal. It's what we would say travesty of justice. First of all, these are people that were actually adopted from a country from Nigeria and repatriated or extradited to Cameroon, which violates, first of all, international law, because there is no extradition treaty between Cameroon and Nigeria. And it violates the fundamental principle of international law or international human rights, which is the principle of non-refoulement, because they brought them back to the country where they fear persecution and torture, and brought them and kept them incommunicado, which is violating their human rights. And Cameroon is a signatory to the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, and also it's the preamble of its constitution states so. So it violates all their rights. So saying that it was even fair in any percentage is completely false, because it was completely unfair. There was no free and fair trial, and it violated their fundamental human rights.
So
going to what would this do to the...
So what do you think would be, you think this would not facilitate the resolution of the conflict, or what's your take on it?
That is the problem. That is where the problem comes in, Dr. Agbo. That is, Dr. Terence, that's where the problem comes in. At a point when the government was actually deceiving or manipulating the international community, that it's actually taking steps to put an end to the Ambazonian War of Independence, it actually just worsened the situation by sentencing these people to life imprisonment. Because by sentencing the people in the Ambazonian leaders to life imprisonment, you have rather radicalized the Ambazonian people. You have rather radicalized the Ambazonian people. And what is their crime? What is their crime? You saw the last outing of Maurice Kamto, Professor Maurice Kamto, his court hearing. If you look at the analogy given by a journalist in this, you trying to compare the hearing of Maurice Kamto and that of Comrade Ayok Tabe, you will see that they are treated differently. Ambazonians were not allowed to come into the courtrooms as they want. Ambazonians, even if they were sick, they were forced. The sitting judge will continue with the proceedings and will not allow and will not adjourn the case, irrespective of the ill-health of the accused. But this is not the case with Maurice Kamto's case. What is the difference? It's telling you that is a clear message to the world. So what I'm saying is that this has not helped in resolving the problem, the Ambazonian crisis.
Yeah, I think the case of Professor Maurice Kamto, I think these are two different cases. And so
yes, but I was just trying to bring that up to you for you to know that
they are accused for different crimes as well. So depending on what the security of the situation of a particular case is determined by the crime you are being tried for.
Well, like I said to you before, whatever the crimes are, that trial was completely not free and it was not fair. It violated their fundamental rights because, first of all, you cannot sentence people in the absence of their counsel. That is completely unheard of. And at what time? Then you're giving them life sentence on what grounds? What did they do? And again, like I said, first of all, there was no independent free and impartial tribunal that these people were tried in. So trying civilian in a military court violates their own right to free and fair trial.
Okay, thank you.
Trying civilians in a military court in a language that is not their first language violates their right to free and fair trial. Trying civilians in a place where they do not have a legal interpretation, like interpreters to interpret the language in which they are being used, they are being tried with, again violates their rights. Those are fundamental rights that were seriously violated by the government of Cameroon against these leaders. And I'm telling you that it has rather radicalized Ambazonians than trying to resolve the problem.
Thank you very, very much. We have to move to the next point. But I saw Rudolf was very, very eager to respond. So Rudolf, if you can switch off your Facebook on your phone, I would very much appreciate and respond.
I did.
After you respond, we'll move to the point, the closing remarks.
No, the reason I was using my phone was because I can't hear Cecilia from the laptop.
I understand that. I understand.
Yes. Cecilia has been saying a lot of things.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me, Mr. Omer? Hello? Mr. Omer, can you hear me?
Omer can't hear you, so you go ahead. I'll bring him back.
Okay. So what I was saying, Dr. T, was that Cecilia is emotional and saying some things that she doesn't have like she is talking about the arrest of Siseko and the rest from Nigeria and calling it illegal and all whatnot. She hasn't read the Nigerian terror laws. Let her read the Nigerian terror laws and see what is written on it. That law was signed by President Jonathan in 2011. There is a clause in that Nigerian terror law which specifies that there is a joint cooperation between Nigeria and other states in terms of fighting terrorism, and even gives them the latitude to go out of the border, go even into the borders, like between Cameroon and Nigeria and Chad, fighting Boko Haram and all those stuff. They can go even 20 kilometers into another country's border to combat terrorists. And they can also capture terrorists and share intelligence and even extradite terrorists or whoever to any of these countries. She hasn't read that. If anybody is in the audience, let him Google and see Nigerian terror laws signed into law by Jonathan.
Okay. Thank you very, very much for that clarification. So we are moving to the end of the discussion.
Yeah, but Dr. Terence, before we go, I just want to make it clear to Rudolf. He's talking about terrorist law, terrorism. What are we talking about here?
No, we have to go. We are
is Siseko a terrorist?
No, that is what.
How do you define terrorism?
Cecilia,
Cameroon government has enacted the 2014 anti-terrorism law, and it has not been able to come out with a single and accepted definition of what constitutes terror or terrorism.
So you and I can disagree on how they attempt, but that is what the Cameroon government, that is what they are charged for. We can disagree on that.
Exactly.
That is the charge. You can have your opinion, I have my opinion. We disagree on what they have been charged, but that is the charge. So let's move on to the next item, which is the end. And I also believe, apart from the school issue, this is another important. What would you guys recommend as I know you have your different schools of thought. You are going to throw it back at me. What do you guys recommend we do, everyone? Both the Cameroon government, the separatists, and I understand that different separatist groups, to resolve the current conflict, for people, children to go back, for people to start living peace, to people who have been internally and externally displaced to return to their homes. What are your recommendations for the resolution of the conflict? So, Cecilia, I'll start with you. I'll bring back Omer to later. Rudolf, you talk. You will be brought on later as well.
Okay.
Okay, what is the solution to all this? Is that my question? Is that
what are recommendations to resolve the current?
My recommendation is that the government of Cameroon and
go ahead.
The government of Cameroon will come to the negotiation table without any form of preconditions, and they would come and sit on the table, negotiate their way out of Ambazonia. and Ambazonia will become the nation.
Yeah, thank you. I very much like that point. So this is something I had wanted to ask you, and I really wanted you to get to the point about the negotiation. So recently, I heard the head of one of the group you represent, I think he had an interview with the Reuters newspaper or Sky, with respect to some of the negotiations or dialogue in Switzerland. What has become of that as well?
The head of my organization, you mean Dr. Choluka Sayaba?
Yes, Dr. Choluka, yeah.
He talked about the negotiation in Switzerland. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of noise around me here. I didn't get you well, so pardon me. Repeat what you said.
That's okay. Give me 1 second. Yeah. So let me get to the subject. And okay, yeah. So Switzerland came up, a center in Switzerland, which is the Swiss Federal Department for Foreign Affairs, clarified that they wanted to be a mediator in a communique on June 27th. The AGC is one, okay. So the AGC, which is one of the secessionist group, asks for transparency. So I believe they are aware of what the Swiss government has proposed, and this was the AGC actually said this to your leader, Dr. Cho Ayaba, who said that he doesn't think the Swiss will be fair with this because there's a very close relationship between Switzerland and Cameroon. So that is not what I wanted to talk about, but I want you to tell us what you know about this negotiation, if anything has happened, and if anything happened, what you know about it, not about the cozy relationship between Cameroon and Switzerland.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for that one. And to let you know, we are not against negotiation, like you rightly said. But the question is, how free and fair would that be? We call for negotiation and third parties to come and sit on the neutral parties to sit on the negotiation table. Switzerland is not a neutral party, unfortunately. A country that hosts Cameroon president in its Swiss Intercontinental Hotel for over months and months and have a very good relationship with Cameroon cannot mediate in the crisis, in this particular crisis, or provide any solution to the war of independence, to this war of independence. So Swiss completely out of it. It has the same. You just gave me something, and I'm trying to talk about it, and you keep interrupting me.
I'm going to you will continue. So I'm going to ask as a private citizen, because he doesn't go to Switzerland staying in that hotel officially as the president, but he goes as a private as a visitor. So should Switzerland eject him, refuse people from visiting that country? Is that what you're saying?
Switzerland is making its money from his stay in his hotel. That is good business for Switzerland. But that I will let you know that Swiss is a French country, and that mentality is the same. And Swiss government has a very good working relationship with Cameroon. That is a fact you cannot deny. And we are saying that we want a neutral party that has no interest in Cameroon. But of course, Swiss government has interest in Cameroon. We all know this as a fact. So let us have a third country that can actually, why not the United Nations? Why not the African Union? We don't want a country like Switzerland that will come and is a friend of Paul Biya to come and negotiate, because it will not yield any good result. You know, so that's what we are saying. We are not against negotiation.
Would you call this negotiation without preconditions? Because that's a precondition.
No, it's not a precondition. As a matter of fact, it's not a precondition. We are just saying that we want a neutral party. Asking for a neutral party is not a precondition.
Okay.
They say precondition, it should be between Ambazonians and La République du Cameroon, so that La République will not be coming on the table and say that, no, we want to give them 5 states federation. No, that is not what we are saying. We are saying that it should be a third party, a neutral third party. And we consider that Switzerland is not neutral. That is just about
So you think that this should end on a negotiating table where both parties will disagree to agree on something?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So, Omer, I will bring you in. So, what do you recommend be done to resolve the current stalemate?
My brother, can you hear me?
I can hear you 5 on 5.
At this point, we've got to a point where it is incredibly difficult to fix this problem or to solve this problem. Now, first of all, if, like Cecilia said, La République or the warring parties have to come to the table and discuss and dialogue. The first question is this: who exactly does the Cameroon government dialogue with? First of all, Ambazonians are not united. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to call names here. The AGC, Amabo Cecilia's group, has never, ever agreed with the interim government. That's the first thing. Now, Ayub Tabe is in Yaoundé, is in Kondengi. He is considered, or according to the government, he is the leader of the Separatist. If the government says, Ayub Tabe, come to the table, let's discuss. Ayabacho, Boshilon for Saturday, they say, no, why na he debo table? Why Ayabacho not debo table? That's the first thing. Upon that, will be like, why am I not discussing? Who exactly is the government going to talk to? 10 million Anglophones, 8 million Anglophones, all these various groups, the ones in South Africa as well, they have their own group. They're like 1 million groups. You are not united. That's the first thing. So who exactly are we talking? Who exactly is the government talking to? Secondly, you want a neutral country. You don't want a country who is a country like Switzerland, which is friendly to Cameroon. Which country is not friendly to Cameroon? Tell me one country in this world that's not friendly to Cameroon.
She mentioned the
international relations are different from the kind of relationship that Cameroon and Swiss have. That is different. Bilateral relation and international relation, those are different. Which country would you say is neutral?
Which country would you say is neutral?
Yeah, which one?
That is why Ambazonians will always call for the organizations like the United Nations and the African Union and even the EU. Why not? First of all, let me tell you something. Ambazonians leaders are not divided. If it will come to this issue of negotiation, forget it. This is just noise.
Omer and Cecilia, apparently you guys disagree on something, as we can see. You are not giving your recommendation. So because of that, yeah, you did. I'm going to ask Nchem to tell me what he thinks could be done to resolve this conflict. So Nchem, over to you.
I don't think he's here.
Is he on? I can't hear him.
Are you talking, Nchem?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes,
can you hear me, Mr.
Ahead.
Okay. To me,
yes,
what is lacking in resolving this issue is leadership. Everything rises and falls with leadership. Secondly, if I were in a position to resolve this issue, the first issue I'm going to look at will also be the role of the military. Because when you look at different reports, a lot of these kids are getting more radicalized when they see what the military is doing. So what I would do is I will examine the role of the military and move from an offensive position to a protective position. But I'm not going to withdraw the military. The military will be withdrawn at some point, but it will be withdrawn based on evolving circumstances on the ground. It's going to change. I will change the role from being offensive to being protective. Next issue. All these stories they are talking about, neutral bodies, international bodies, and all whatnot, none of those people can solve our problems. They are coming into these problems for their own interests, not our own interests. Not our own interest, Terence. So, this is a political fight. Political fights are very contentious, and nobody gets everything, and nobody goes home without something. So, what happens? What works is compromise. Everybody must be ready to compromise something. The government must be able to make some concessions. The separatists must also be able to make some concessions. Then we start moving up towards the center where the magic is for peace to reign. If the separatists want to say, oh, independence is non-negotiable, and then the government too wants to say, oh, I will use my military to crush anybody, at the end of the day, it becomes a kind of, how do you call it, a rat race. And in the end, people are dying. Everything is falling apart. So what is going to work on this issue is compromise. The separatists will never get all what they want. The government will never get all what it wants. Something has to be given and something has to be taken. Everybody will go home with something, but not everything. That is what I feel. And you need leadership to pilot this.
Great, fantastic. So thank you very, very much for that. We have come to the end of the show, but before we end the show, I will ask each of you to give me your last word. So Cecilia, I will start with you. Don't make it too long.
The way you give barriers to each time I want to talk, it amazes me. I will not be coming to this big debate anymore. I won't be coming to this big debate anymore. Thank you, Dr. Terence. Thank you, Omer. Thank you, Rudolf. Thank you, Jiggi, for us having this very interactive conversation, this discussion. Omer wanted to make it a debate. Unfortunately, we will be having that debate sometime soon. But as a matter of fact, I will want to say that Ambazonia as a whole, I am proud to be called an Ambazonia, and I will represent Ambazonia anytime, any day, because we know what we want, and the outright independence of Ambazonia is what Ambazonians actually want. And about La Republique, about negotiations, we will of course get on the negotiation table with La Republique when the time comes, without preconditions, just to, as a matter of fact, tell La Republique to carry itself and get out of Ambazonia. So thank you very much, and thanks for all the other panelists. It was a good discussion. It was a fruitful discussion.
Yeah, I hope to have you here again in the future. Okay, so Rudolf,
if you will not be restricting me from talking, then I'll.
Dr. T, my last word is that let us pray for our country and let us stop hating each other.
Okay, great.
Let us stop hating each other and let's pray for our country. That's my last word.
Yeah, Omer, your last word.
To me or me?
You.
Right. Thank you for having us today. To be honest with you, I am 100% against what's going on in Cameroon, and I'm fully aware that this is a problem that could have been solved by the government, but they let it get to this point. So I hold them 100% responsible for where we are at the moment. But I live in the diaspora, and I've seen war firsthand. I'm not going to go back into that. I've seen war firsthand. It is messy, very, very messy. I've been to war, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have a problem with people who've never been to war, and they sit in the comfort of their homes and they keep saying, let's fight, let's take up arms and fight. If I hear someone for gun, none of them know stand. So now stop this bravery behind on our computers. It makes no sense. You've never been to war. You've never seen people
give
die.
Your closing remark.
Yeah, Omer, thank you very, very much for that.
So stop this ridiculous war. Live to fight another day.
Yeah, Omer, thank you very, very much.
Strategize and then come back.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for that closing remark. I will have to comment here that I very much like what Nchem Rudolf said, which is practically said, all of us, the separatists and the Cameroon government cannot get everything. There has to be a compromise, and these people, we have to talk to each other. So for everyone who joined us today, thank you very, very much for joining the big debate. I was your host, and hopefully, hope you guys enjoyed it. Jiggi, we sincerely apologize. We'll be coming back here in the next few weeks with a roundtable discussion on revamping the education system in Cameroon to serve the people better. Have a great evening and goodbye. Don't go, Cecilia.